So you finish your studies, you work for 2 years in a criminal defence firm, and you're thinking about starting up your own practice. Now here are 10 tips for starting up your own practice as a criminal defence firm. Now, I started my practice in 2001. It was called Nedham Lawyers Criminal Defence Specialists. I wish I had some of these tips when I started up back then, because I made a lot of mistakes, still making mistakes, but here are some tips that may be able to help. The first thing is to choose a relevant business name. Now, as I said, I used to be called Nedham Lawyers. Now we're called Sydney Criminal Lawyers. Now in that short name, it tells you everything you want to know about our firm. It's quite important to have a relevant business name just for that reason, so people know what you're about. Now I don't agree with people calling their firms after their own surname, because it doesn't really say what you're about. So that's the first thing, having a relevant business name. There are some good names around. We own Sydney Drug Lawyers, Sydney Assault Lawyers, we even own Sydney Family Lawyers. So those types of names that talk about what the firm's about is an important thing in my view. The second thing is to choose a relevant domain name. Now, when I started up years ago, I purchased the domain name criminallaw.com.au. Now, although it's a powerful domain name, it doesn't exactly say what we're about. We recently got sydneycriminallawyers.com.au, and that's very good for two reasons. Number one, when someone does a search under Google for a criminal lawyer in Sydney, it comes up, it ranks well. Number two, it's our business name. So try and get a domain name that's the same as your business name, and of course describes what you're about. So that's a second thing that I think you should consider doing. The third is to build an impressive website. Now, it doesn't have to be a very, very expensive website. You can get a good website for $2,000 or $3,000, but it should be a website that has an easy to use content management system, or CMS. That means you can go in there and upload pages, do blogs, and it should have social sharing buttons such as Facebook, LinkedIn, and those types of buttons. That's very good for search engine optimization. So again, when someone does a search, it ranks well. It should be a clean site, crisp site, and it should be able to convey a lot of information. Always share your information. I remember years ago that lawyers never used to put up information about certain areas of the law. People will respect you if you share your information. The law's not a secret. And give them the information and you'll gain respect, and release that information on your website. The fourth step is to rent a small office near a court. Now, I started up in Chatswood many years ago. There are no courts in Chatswood. The nearest is Hornsby, and Manly's not too far away, North Sydney. Those are the nearest courts. However, we're now in the city across the road from the Downing Centre. I think there's a great benefit in being right next to a court. People can see where you are, and in the morning you can meet the client and take them across the road to the court, or nearby to the court. So rent a small office near a court. That's quite important. The fifth tip is a trust accounting system. Now, for many years we did our trust accounts, and trust accounts are when clients deposit money into a bank account and you draw upon those fees as and when legal costs become due and payable. Now, we did them manually for many years. Big mistake. Do not do them manually. Get an electronic trust accounting system. The one I use is called Cabernet, so just like the wine, Cabernet, C-A-B-E-N-E-T, and it really allows you to quickly and simply enter entries into the trust account, withdraw from the trust account, and if you're about to make an error, it will tell you. It's very good. It's recommended by the Law Society. It's one of the ones that Law Society endorse, and I suggest that you start up with an electronic trust accounting system straight away. Now, the sixth thing is to create good templates, precedents, and systems. Now, you can borrow templates from another law firm. For example, I freely give my templates. So, you know, the letterhead, the construction of the different fax cover sheets and things we use here are freely accessible. I have no problem with sharing those with other people who are trying to set up their own firms. So set up precedents, set up systems. For example, when you go to court, you always send an after court letter to the client, and precedents. That is, for example, you'd set up different practice bundles for each area of law. For example, bail or common assault. Those types of precedents with all the relevant case law in there. Set those up early so that you and anyone else in the future can refer to those when you're doing a particular type of case. The seventh thing that I'd recommend is having an SEO expert, that is a search engine optimization expert. Now, I know I'm talking a lot about the internet, but I think the internet's the way of the future. We share information through the internet. You can, really communicate things to people through the internet, through emails, through your websites, and it's a good base to be able to build into the future. Get an SEO expert. An SEO expert will make sure that you rank well with search engines such as Google, Yahoo, and those types of companies. And it will mean that if someone does a search, for example, I'm looking for an assault lawyer in Sydney, then you will be able to rank better, or your pages will be able to rank better, and it's quite a good investment to have. I suggest that between $300 and $800 a month is quite a good investment. You'll get a return on that investment if you have an SEO expert. Now, the eighth one is a little bit more controversial. I strongly suggest that in order to alleviate heartache, in order to alleviate financial hardship, frustration, soured relations, you should always, if you're doing a privately represented matter, that is, not a legal aid case or a pro bono case, which you should also do, of course, but if you're doing a privately represented case, always get your funds into trust early and before you start doing the work. The last thing you want to do is to do the work and not be paid, of course. I mean, we all work. We all should be paid for the work we do. That's just a normal thing in my view. And really, it will prevent any, as I said, bad relations in the future. Tell your clients exactly how much they're going to have to pay for their case if you can, if it's a fixed fee case, and get that amount into trust so there are no problems in the future. The ninth one is most important. Do your best. It's easy to say, but if you work hard on every case, and you can only do your best, if you do the research, if you prepare well, especially for hearing matters, or if you guide the client towards a sentencing, and you just do your best. You work hard to get cases dropped, and you have a track record of getting cases dropped rather than going from adjournment to adjournment, which is terrible practice, and it's far too common in my view. Then you will develop a good reputation, and you will get referrals, you will get clients. The 10th is a standalone matter. The 10th tip is a standalone matter, which goes together with doing your best, but I've put it as a standalone matter. That's communication. It is so fundamentally important to communicate to your clients that I think it's the 10th and last tip. Tell them where their cases are at. Tell them what the options are available. Now, criminal law cases are organic. They develop, they change over the time. The advice changes after you get different types of evidence, after you've engaged a forensic expert to get the material for you. They develop, they change. Always keep your client advised of what's going on in their case, and of course get detailed instructions from them before you make an offer, a plea offer to the other side, and communicate with them regularly so that they know what's occurring. Now, these are just tips that I feel are important. They may not be for everyone, but I think that if you implement them, you're doing well.